The pressure is mounting on HM Treasury to introduce a directors' income support scheme, and now the British Chambers of Commerce has joined calls to provide further support to squeezed businesses that don't, as things stand, qualify for government support packages. Coming up in this video, I take a look at what the BCC is proposing and ask whether Rishi Sunak will soon come to the aid of directors across the UK. Hi everyone, I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner, personal finance YouTuber and money author. Before I go any further, please do smash that like button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm as this channel continues to grow. The British Chambers of Commerce is calling on the government to provide more financial support to businesses across the UK. They say that cash-strapped businesses need measures to support cash flow, such as extending and expanding business rates relief, prolonging VAT deferrals and offering an immediate further round of upfront cash grant support, at least equivalent to levels of around £25,000 available in the first national lockdown, with sufficient funds to provide for all businesses that need it in every sector. The BCC is also calling on the Treasury to provide businesses with more certainty in order to protect jobs and livelihoods by agreeing to maintain the Job Retention Scheme, or furlough, until the economy is fully reopened. As things stand, furlough comes to an end in April. It was extended back in December until the 30th of April, and that was to give businesses more certainty about the duration of the scheme. But will the economy be truly reopened by then? I don't think it will be. I've said in previous videos that my best guess is June before we start getting back to normal. I would love to be proven wrong on this. In terms of new support, the BCC wants the income support grants currently available to the self-employed to be extended to the directors of limited companies. As things stand, limited company directors who are paid via dividends are excluded from government financial support. I spoke about this the other day when the Federation of Small Businesses was calling on Rishi Sunak to introduce a directors' income support scheme. According to the FSB, the current lack of government support applies to between 700,000 and 1.1 million company directors. After I published that video, I was contacted on Twitter by @ForgottenLimited. The #ForgottenLimited campaign exists to raise awareness of the lack of meaningful government support for the small business community across the UK. They're calling on the government to address this disparity by extending COVID-19 support packages to those businesses left behind. A very good point made by the Forgotten Limited campaign, which wasn't widely reported in the press, and I didn't cover in my earlier video either, is that the FSB proposal does not in any way use dividends. Instead, the proposed scheme would be based on the CT 600 trading profits, that's Corporation Tax 600 trading profits, of the small actively trading company, and any grant would be counted as taxable income. The CT 600 would have the director's remuneration added back in, which would make it equivalent to self-employed people using the self-employed income support scheme. The campaign also pointed out that the proposals I talked about in the video are designed to be available to up to 4 people with significant control within each limited company, so not just limited to solo directors. The other point to mention is that the campaign does not recommend a cap on the support grant for directors. The FSB suggests a cap of £7,500 for the 3-month period, and also limiting access to the scheme to directors earning up to £50,000 a year. Turning back to the British Chambers of Commerce proposals, the BCC says that businesses cannot afford to wait until the budget announcement in March. They need these measures put in place now, along with a guarantee that the government financial support will be available throughout the year, so businesses can plan ahead. As things stand, businesses can only really plan a few weeks ahead at a time, which isn't particularly sustainable. The impact of the pandemic is increasingly being felt away from the sectors which have been most obviously hit by restrictions, such as hospitality and leisure. I think it's easy to forget about businesses in less obvious parts of the economy that have also suffered due to lockdown restrictions, loss of contracts, and also staff having to juggle childcare duties with their work responsibilities. Another call from the BCC is for government ministers to work more closely with companies across the UK to accelerate the rollout of the vaccine. They want the government to make use of business space, capacity and people as much as possible. It's been really positive this week to see Boots and Superdrug, along with 4 other high street pharmacy brands start to provide COVID vaccinations in their branches, there must be existing supply and distribution chains out there capable of adding to vaccination capacity in the UK at such a critical time when this is really all about speed and numbers. Until the vaccination programme is achieving its aims, the BCC wants to see a fit-for-purpose test, trace and isolate system, which they say remains critical to keep the economy moving once the current lockdown ends. Even today, when we hear about the closure of the so-called travel corridors and the need from Monday for all of the UK arrivals to have tested negative before departure, test, trace and isolate doesn't seem to be particularly active, if that's the right word. Where are the people checking that those arriving in the UK don't leave their homes or hotel rooms for the duration of their quarantine period? According to the most recent BCC quarterly economic survey, which looks at more than 6,000 firms across the UK, across all sectors, all key economic indicators remain well below the pre-pandemic levels, and 4 in 10 firms have seen their cash flow drop. Government data also shows UK economic output is still around 8% lower than its pre-pandemic peak seen back in February 2020. And we of course saw today the latest official economic data for November 2020 showing a 2.6% decline in the size of the UK economy during the second national lockdown in England. Economists are already saying that we might well be in another recession right now, a recession defined as 2 consecutive quarters of GDP decline. Assuming that is the UK economy shrank in size in the final quarter of last year, which I think is a fairly safe bet. While this recession, the one we're in right now, is unlikely to be as severe as the one we saw at the start of a pandemic, it is still a recession, and a recession is bad news for businesses. Adam Marshall, Director General of the BCC, said, "We have written to the Chancellor to highlight the desperate situation facing thousands of businesses all across the UK. The damage inflicted by the pandemic is widespread. It goes far beyond the very visible casualties hit by repeated stop-start lockdowns." Marshall continued, "The support schemes the government has introduced so far have saved many firms and jobs, but they have not gone far enough to help many survive a tough start to 2021. The drip-feed approach to business support measures has meant many firms simply cannot plan for the future. We are urging the government to urgently adopt a package of measures that covers the whole of 2021 and that takes away the cliff edges firms face in a few weeks' time when reliefs, forbearance and furlough are set to end. Many companies simply can't wait until the March budget. Action is needed now." I think Rishi Sunak is going to announce some further government financial support measures for businesses, hopefully in the next week or so, certainly ahead of the budget in March. Whether or not that additional support will include a director's income support scheme is yet to be seen, but the growing calls from business groups to cover this excluded group is getting louder and louder by the day. Do you think that we're going to see the introduction of a director's income support scheme? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford, and remember, when it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow.